Hi, so this is a quick video just to sort of explain and talk about the BMW 330e charging mechanism. How does it charge up, how long does it take, how much power does it need, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a few people quite interested in this car, so I thought I'd pass on the knowledge that I've got because I'm lucky enough to have one. So first things first, I've got it plugged in to my socket at home. So you can see down here you've got the charging port, which lights up nice and blue when it's charging, and then it goes off later on during the charge to avoid drawing any attention. Annoyingly, you have to keep it open, so it's a bit sort of not vandal proof, let's say. It's potential for somebody to break it, but when you lock the car, you lock the cord in, so it's not possible for people to unplug it and screw you over. When it's charging, you can possibly not see it on here, but the dashboard actually lights up, and you can see here this is the domestic charger that you get from BMW. Not particularly long cable, I must say. I had an external 13 amp socket fitted, but you have to get the car incredibly close to the socket to get it there. It must be a good 4, maybe 5 meters, if that. So yeah, as I mentioned, you can see on the dashboard some of the electrics are actually lit up, so it's very subtle, but you can see, for example, the light button there is lit up in a sort of amber colour. Full charge takes about 3.5 hours. As you can see, this is our power meter that we've got given to us by our energy provider. It pulls between 2.5 kilowatts, just maybe a bit under, something like that for the time. I believe the charger is 10 amps that you get. The car can actually charge at a maximum of 16 if you put in a power, a high-powered charging station, but to be honest, it doesn't really seem worth it for the cost, especially considering it's going to cost you a few £100s to put that in, and you're unlikely to recoup that in cost. I have got a couple of charging cards for this, which I'll show you later on. One is a BMW one, and the other one is a electricity from Ecotricity card. Now that I found to be actually better than the BMW one. They're the ones who provide all the motorway services electric charging points, and they're actually currently free, but the problem is, because the car only charges a maximum of 16 amps, you don't get a lot of charge unless you're there for about half an hour. You might get a mile, maybe 2 miles if you're going for a coffee, if you're lucky. Obviously it takes, on that charge, 16 amp charge, about 2 hours to charge instead of 3.5 hours, so you do get a bit of a benefit from having one of those stations, one of those points, but probably not enough for most people to bother. Fully charged, you get about 20 miles of electricity. Maybe, I think at the moment 18 was what I got when I got the car in early March or late March, early April, and that's crept up to 19 as the weather's improved a little bit. We'll see. Realistically, probably going to get about 15 or 16 on the road. You're probably still going to need a little bit of petrol to get back and forth. Okay, so just hopped into the car quickly just to show you the dashboard once you're charging. So you can see here, you've got the energy bar and the capacity. So it's quite dark out, so it's gone to amber, but otherwise it would be white. I've got less than a quarter of the battery charge, which is for 1 mile, because it reserves quite a lot of energy just to use for electric power when you're driving. This is not a slow car, it's very, very fast in fact, and it uses electric power and the engine together to give you that performance. So you get a BMW app as well. So the app actually lets you see the charge status. So it's been plugged in now for maybe 5-10 minutes max, and we've got our 1 mile of electric charge and our 55 miles of fuel, which is about a quarter of a tank. I've got, well, less than a quarter of a tank in here. I mean, fully charged and fully fueled, I've seen 320, 330 miles. We're talking not a lot of range compared to a diesel car, but you know, this does have only a 40-litre tank. So you know, you go to the fuel pump and you're filling it up, and you think you've got a quarter of a tank already, and you're only be able to put 30 pounds in. It's a hell of a difference. But then of course you get a lot more limited range. So here you can see the electric range on the app, and you can tap, and you can see at the moment that charging is not active. That's because I've not locked the door to the car. So if I lock the door to the car, it should then start the charge, although having said that, now we're actually not in the car with the key, so it'll let me do that. But normally you tap that icon and it'll tell you what your estimated time of the charge finishing will be. So if it's like fully empty, it'll be about, you know, 3-ish hours, maybe 3.5. Usually it's never completely empty because it does charge as you drive anyway. But it'll give you a time, you know, so 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, whatever it might be, from here. And you can understand then when it's going to finish. You can also go to the remote and you can set preconditioning. So you know, if you want it to warm up in the morning for you, you can set a time when you're going to leave, and it'll warm the car up. Or if it's going to be say hot, you can get it to cool the car down. It's fully electric, all the heating on this. What I've noticed though is it does actually chew into the battery. So if, for example, we set off, I set off at 8:30, and I say I'm leaving at 8:30, charges overnight, fully charges, and then starts heating the car or cooling the car in the morning, it actually chews up 5% and doesn't recharge quick enough to recuperate that. So you end up leaving with about 5% less battery than you would normally, which is a bit annoying. You kind of hope that it would be able to do it in time. You also get your efficiency here. So this is my last trip, which is driving back from my office to home, and I got it at about 40 miles per gallon. Now, I mean, it's quite deceiving when it says 40 miles per gallon. That includes electric charge and fuel. So 40 miles per gallon, if you have plugged in and you've got 100% charge when you leave, and it shows 40 miles per gallon, well, obviously the electric engine did a really poor job, because it's relying on the electricity to bring that up a lot. In this particular case, I was actually driving on a battery that was medium charged, and it was medium charged because I had it driven in sport mode beforehand, and when you're driving in sport mode it charges the battery a lot, because of all of the aggressive engine settings and braking and so on. Yeah, I'd say 40 miles per gallon seems to be about where this is at when the car's empty. I drove a big trip, you know, I drove to Belgium and back, and on the way out, of course, you know, I had a fully charged battery, but on the way back I didn't. On the way back I got about 40 miles per gallon door to door, and that was entirely on petrol, which is not too bad considering how fast it is, but certainly not where BMW claim.